Amin Məmmədov is running as an independent to represent Nizami District, 2nd Constituency, number 38 in Ganja. I met Amin 5 years ago while I was in Baku writing a story about the city of Baku for Planning magazine. I was fortunate to meet him. He was head of a project group at the State Committee on Urban Planning and Architecture. It's called SCUPA. And he was working at that time on the Greater Baku Regional Development Plan. He was one of the first professional staff at SCUPA. He began as a translator. He was promoted to environmental specialist, and then he became head of project at SCUPA. Later, he went to serve as environmental specialist for a UN development plan project for the Kura River in Georgia and Azerbaijan. Now, 5 years later, he has returned to SCUPA as consultant to the Baku Master Plan project. He's using his skills as an administrator and a translator to manage project work with foreign consultants there. Amin has an impressive education. He finished his master's degree in 2003 at Baku State University in water resource management. He's currently in postgraduate studies working on a doctoral degree in the same field, water resource management, at the National Academy of Sciences. Now he is elected as deputy head of public council under the Ministry of Ecology. It is a civil society structure to monitor and establish a bridge from the ministry to society, and he is meeting directly with the ecology minister on various occasions. Now he is running for Azerbaijan's parliament. He wants to serve in the National Assembly. I think he represents a younger generation of leaders emerging in Azerbaijan as a result of reforms conducted by the president. He is fluent in English, knowledgeable of the most advanced methods of planning and government in Europe and America, and he is devoted to the ongoing transformation of Azerbaijan, its government and economy. I have known Amin for 5 years. I have spent time with him in Baku and in Ganja. I can attest to his love for his country, his devotion to the people of Ganja, his honesty and integrity. I think he is an outstanding member of a new generation of young leaders for Azerbaijan. So Amin, you were born in 1980, and you witnessed the breakup of the Soviet Union. Mm-hmm. You saw the rebirth of your country, Azerbaijan. Mm-hmm. You were 10 years old, 11 years old. You've seen your country come a long way. There's been massive development of the oil industry. There's been massive development of infrastructure in Azerbaijan. What has been accomplished so far since the breakup of the Soviet Union, and where does the country need to go at this point forward?
Yeah, thank you. You are absolutely right. Actually, I was born close to collapse of Soviet Union. And when I remember that time, although I was a kid at that time, I would tell that that was really hard times for the people, for country. You know, we were in the eve of the start of the conflict with the neighbor country, and that the separatists in Nagorno-Karabakh within our territory, they demanded to merge that territory to Armenia. But of course, it's our historical territory, and people, close to 1 million people went to square and to protest. And when Gorbachev at that time, when he was in power in the Soviet Union, he decided to send tanks. And 10 days ago approximately, we commemorated the 30 years of that tragic things that happened in Baku. And really, we became independent, as other 15 countries, but we were in the conflict, we were in a war, and there was a chaotic situation in the power, in the government. And thanks to our national leader, Heydar Aliyev, who came to power in '93, actually as a demand of people. People understood that they need a person who can come and solve that with the experience and background in politics. And of course, whenever he came, he worked hard on achieving ceasefire, then started to manage and govern everything, to have everything smooth, and to start to build the economy. and there was a contract of century with the oil companies, international oil
Yeah, the
companies.
contract of the century, that was signed in what year?
94.
94.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was 14 years old at that time. I remember how it was the mood in the city. We had great hopes to that contract and to our leader, and of course that was a very successful step, I think, that he made. And as a result of that, we started the new era of our country's development. And then till 2003, when our national leader passed away, he made a big effort to also achieve the construction of the export pipeline. You know, the
Okay.
other countries, the neighbor
Okay.
countries, were against that idea, but at
Yes.
least he was very principled in that issue,
Yes.
and he achieved it, and the export pipeline was constructed. And then his
So President Aliyev was critical to establishing the oil revenues for the country
exactly.
and building the pipeline which allowed the revenues to come into Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
That was a critical, seemed like an early step that needed to be taken in the country.
Definitely, yeah. He was very pragmatic, and he was thinking strategically.
Yeah.
He understood that what is the way to solve that issues, and he understood that, you know, without investment, without money, it would be too difficult to do something. So he made that right decision, and of course, when the oil money started to come, his follower, current president, His Excellency Ilham Aliyev, he also managed that money properly in order to direct it to the infrastructure of the country, which was absolutely exhausted after Soviet Union time, you know. And then he also later did his best to direct that investment to human capital,
Okay.
and to education, to other stuff, for youth. And this is the result of that the people, young guys like me, decided to believe on our capacity and to join his team and to help him as a team members in building the country.
Okay. So critical first steps were the buildup of infrastructure of the country,
Yeah.
which had been devastated
Exactly.
after the fall of the Soviet Union, and then to invest in education and invest in the country's human resources. You're a beneficiary of that.
Yes, exactly.
You received your formation, your training, your education under this new regime instituted by President Aliyev.
Yeah, I agree completely, and that's, you know, the important other thing is the political stability in the country. You know, at that time, you know, what I mentioned, the early 90s, you know, there was a chaotic situation. Like, there were some people, you know, everybody was thinking that he is the president of the country, you know, several persons. But later, when the national leader came to power, he explained to everybody that there should be one leader in the country, one president. And yeah, of course, there should be opposition as well, but it doesn't mean that they should make a decision how to manage the country. They can take part in the political processes. But current President Aliyev, he continued to provide the same political stability, which is extremely important for development. Because for us, you know, to wake up in the morning, go to our offices or to universities, get education, get experience, we can't do it without the stability. Because if to compare with some Middle East countries where, you know, every day we are hearing from news that somewhere somebody blasted a bomb or some, you know, chaotic riots or protests, you know, in that situation it's extremely difficult to focus on development.
Sure. Yes. Okay. What would you like to say about the current status of the country now that this development has happened? There's been investment in education. A lot of Azeris such as yourself have been educated here in Azerbaijan. Others have gone abroad to receive education and have come back to the country. There's been a lot of infrastructure built in the country. Baku has been made into a beautiful, gleaming city in many ways. There's new rails, new highways in the country, and so forth. Where are we at now in the progress of Azerbaijan, and where do we need to go looking forward?
Well, you are completely right. You know, we did all the necessary things that are required in order to have a comfortable country to live and to work and to develop. But this is the period of information technologies and innovations. And the current young generation are thinking completely different than even me, who is 40 years old now. I'm not talking about even the mid-age population, elder than me. But with this youth, of course, they went to foreign universities, came back here, and they are trying to find some career opportunities in the country and to develop themselves. Of course, this is also not easy, but unfortunately some youth, they think that if they got some degree in prestigious university, they should come immediately and to be appointed to the position of deputy minister or minister. It's completely wrong thinking, because you need to start with something in a certain place, in private sector or in the government, and then to go on career steps to the higher positions. And for that, all the conditions are provided. And I think that extremely important in order to develop the country, to think about how to use the resources that you have. And also, at the moment, we are in this period when these reforms are going on in the country. So we in the government, there were a lot of people who were from the Soviet Union time. They were under the influence in their young years, under the influence of Communist Party. And their construction of their brains were completely different.
Okay.
But now the young guys in the age like me, or either the younger or elder, who got this Western education and in developed countries, and they also came to key positions in the administration, in the government bodies, of course thanks to presidents of the country. So president also understood that he needs a young team, innovative team, understanding global realities, speaking languages, and also the new ways of management. They are able to use it in their practice. So we are in that period when the new faces are in the government bodies, and people have much hope for future.
Okay, so you're 40, you're age 40. Azerbaijan is a very young country. I think a large percentage of the population, perhaps the majority of the population, is even under the age of 30. They grew up at a time where not knowing anything about the Soviet Union. And they grew up in an age of technology, IT and internet, and all of this connectivity that we're experiencing now. Can you think of sort of what their needs are, this young population of Azerbaijan? Is there a need to, for example, put more emphasis on creating entrepreneurship, on creativity, on developing new businesses and so forth? You mentioned that people should not study abroad and then come back and just expect to receive a high position in government automatically, that they need to sort of prove themselves, work hard, maybe develop some business and so forth. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you are completely right. Regardless where they got this education, it depends. Even in general, globally, the system of education is also changing. There are a lot of wealthy people in the world that haven't got even college degrees, but their entrepreneurial skills that help them. I think that we have a very strong capacity in our youth. They have more than enough confidence on themselves. They can go to even other countries and achieve a big success. So as well as here in the country. So in that point of view, of course, they need to work hard, and they shouldn't lose their hope, because they have conditions to do that. And now president, his main policy is about non-oil sector, development of non-oil sector. And in non-oil sector, the important part is the information technology, tourism, and some kind of creative industries, including startups and other things. So they need to look for some opportunities, and then to evaluate among that and decide that in which field he or she can realize himself or herself. That's important. And there are more than enough opportunities. So they need to just not to give up and try a lot of things, because it's a young age. We all started with different things and then stopped in one thing, but which we can do better than others.
Sure. So the country has been through a period of reliance on the oil sector. The oil sector has provided enormous income to the country, which has been put to good use in infrastructure and education. Now it's at a point where there needs to be a step forward into non-oil sector industries, and that this will provide, this movement, this transition to the non-oil sector will provide opportunities for young Azerbaijanis. What sort of policies need to be put into place to stimulate this new emerging part of the economy that's not oil related?
Well, all the necessary policies are conducted. For example, if to go back 3 years ago when we had this devaluation of our currency because of the oil price drop in the global market, and the government and president, they made very flexible, fast decisions, and they developed the roadmaps for different sectors of the economy. And in all these roadmaps, the main strategies mentioned. And based on that roadmap, we need just to work on different fields and to focus on non-oil sector. And of course, this sector also requires the human resources that we should develop. And that covers either the higher education, including even vocational education. And there might be some needs for change in even primary schools and elementary schools in terms of creating new thinking in young generation and children.
Okay, creating new thinking, creating the possibilities for creative thinking and for entrepreneurship, and creating new businesses. You mentioned key sectors. Tourism, IT, agriculture is a key sector. And Azerbaijan has enormous agricultural resources and potential there. And just many other forms of business which could potentially be developed in this country. What would be sort of your initiatives in the National Assembly? What initiatives would you be interested in supporting to build this not post-oil, but addition to the oil economy in Azerbaijan, the expansion of the Azerbaijani economy?
That's the reason that I'm running for office for parliament from the other city of Azerbaijan, Ganja, which is the second big city. And I think that all these initiatives and all these steps, they are made, but they should refer to the certain legislation. And there is a need for improvement in that legislation. There are a lot of gaps, shortcomings, and the parliamentarians themselves, they should be also in the age that, in a young age, with a modern thinking and with understanding the new global realities, not the one that is still there with the old thinking who are above 70 or 80 years old. So I think that if we come together as a team in a parliament, a young generation of parliamentarians, we can contribute also to these reforms.
Very good. So you see a moment of generational transition.
Almost, we can say.
Older generation who had their formation, their development under the communist period, they may be retiring. And there's there's a time now, an opportunity for an opening to new, younger group of political leaders coming forward.
But anyway, I would like to add that President himself on his speech told that, but it doesn't mean that we should deny the experience of elder people.
Sure.
So they saw a lot in their life, decades of their lives. They spent in different fields and they got experience. So we need to merge our forces, the elder generation, the younger generation, but just not to say that elder generation should never come to any government positions or to parliament. Of course, there should be a balance. And I think that we can do it. We can keep that balance.
Very good. Amin, we've talked already about the moment of transition that is now in Azerbaijan. The country's come a long way since the collapse of communism. You've witnessed it grow enormously. You've seen the development of infrastructure. You've seen the development of society. The country now it's going through this phase of transition, and it's facing enormous challenges. It's facing environmental challenges. It's facing social challenges. You're committed strongly to the important role of the NGO sector in Azerbaijan. You yourself have been involved in non-governmental organizations. Do you want to talk a little bit about the importance of the NGO sector and human rights in Azerbaijan?
Well, yeah, you are completely right. When there is economic activity, obviously it influences, impacts the environment as well. But of course, everything in our hands. As a society, we can do our best in order to mitigate that risks and this impact. And in that point of view, you're absolutely right. Of course, the civil society plays a very important role. I was involved in NGOs in civil society since 2000, when I was just a student at university before getting my bachelor's degree. And at that time, it was just a newly developing sector in the country, because in the Soviet Union period there was only government, not even the private sector. But then, in a market economy, independence period, we had the government, of course, and also the private sector, as well as the civil society. And to have a healthy civil society is extremely important, because sometimes, unfortunately, that civil society organizations, they are used for different purposes by the forces out of the country. Let's say they are getting some donor funding, and then this donor organization, we don't know to whom they are reporting or from whom they are getting instructions, and then that donor organization kind of dictating that NGOs to only protect their interests in a certain country. But however, being an NGO, a civil society institution, you should always think about the national interest as well, which is extremely important. And to have a healthy civil society depends on whether you were able to increase the awareness among the civil society institutions and activists, so that never, let's say, betray or sell the national interest for the interest of donor organizations. That was the main problem. So, at the moment, we have the state fund that is also providing the funding for NGOs, and this is a very, I would tell, transparent organization with a modern management, and every organization can apply and get donor funding and implement their projects. And by the way, the head of that council, the chairman of that council, is also running for office from one of the constituencies in Baku. And about environment, I would tell that if to take into account my field, the environment, Ministry of Ecology, for example, I'm at the same time the deputy chairman of public council under the Ministry of Ecology. And I'm representing also the water user specialist organization in that council. And that was also the transparent elections where I became a deputy chairman, and we do our best as a public council to build a bridge between the civil society and government body, in this case Ministry of Ecology and Natural Resources. And in that case, I'm sure that a lot of things depend on our activity, and so we need to work hard in order to gain the trust of civil society towards government. Regarding Ganja, for example, I would like to say that this city is playing extremely important role in the country, in the social political life as well as in the economic life of the countries. In the western region of the country, it's kind of a main center of this region. And in terms of agriculture, for example, we have the Agriculture Academy in this city, which is providing main human resources, the specialists to the country's economy. And in that terms, I would like to say that it's extremely important to keep in focus this area and to also support development in this field, in agriculture. And of course, if we talk about human rights.
Let me interrupt you just for a minute. So you have deep roots in Ganja.
Yes.
And you have family here in Ganja.
My parents.
Yes, your parents came from Ganja, and you spent many summers in your youth here in Ganja. So you know the city very well. You have deep friendships and family here. You mentioned that that an important institute of agriculture is located here, and that the agricultural economy is very important in this western region of Azerbaijan. So Ganja plays a critical role in the country, in the country's economy. What are your thoughts about the current status of the economy here around Ganja and social needs here in Ganja? And what is some of your thinking about how you would help to address them in the National Assembly?
Yes, really, this is really important city in this part of the country, in the western part, and in terms of agriculture and also the regional center of that area. But there are of course problems as well. If to talk about my relations with Ganja, I am periodically coming and trying to understand what is going on here. And unemployment, for example, is one of the let's say challenges in the city, which actually makes many youth from Ganja they go to get education in Baku, then they don't prefer to come back to Ganja. Okay. So there is a need for some new maybe initiatives and projects, and also to maybe review some gaps in legislation which can be helpful. Of course, the Ministry of Social Protection and Labor, they are doing their best also to improve the situation, and there is certain success we can see in our daily life. But still, a lot of things has to be done. And as a parliamentary member, if I'm elected, I will do my best to work hard on that. Okay. And I believe that we can achieve.
So you see something of what we call a brain drain in English, that young people are leaving Ganja, they're not coming back.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. But still, you know, these people should also have a trust to their region's economy. And in order to create that trust, we need to work hard to create new jobs. And by the way, at the moment, the State Committee on Urban Planning and Architecture, for which I'm also working as a consultant, they are going to start soon the master plan of Ganja. Okay. And in that master plan, there should be covered a lot of issues, including environment, infrastructure, roads, utility, and other services, and including economy and employment. Okay. So in that case, this plan should be open for everybody, for each citizen resident of Ganja, and they should be very active, coming with the ideas, with the suggestions and proposals, right? How they want to see their city and how it's possible to improve everything.
Okay, so you know, you mentioned the State Committee on Urban Planning and Agriculture. Excuse me, and Architecture. You've been very active with that State Committee over the years as a staff member and also as a consultant to it. Now there is a new initiative to create a metropolitan plan for Ganja. It will focus on the whole gamut of the economy and society here in Ganja, and try to address the needs of youth and unemployment and so forth. What do you think will, you know, you mentioned the key need to involve society in this planning process, to involve the whole community in this planning process. How will you bring the community into the process of creating a new plan for Ganja?
Again, awareness, increasing awareness. You know, we need to work with each, let's say, civil society activist to explain them, you know, yes, we are all busy with our daily concerns and cares, but still, this is your city, which is your home. And so don't be shy. If you have an idea, find a person, right person. Today we are in the information technology. I'm in a social network, in Facebook, in Instagram, and I have these boxes for any message. And so, or if not me, for example, the government bodies, local executive power, or the state committee or the ministry. So they should be open, and they shouldn't feel shy, and they shouldn't mistrust to the government. So if you have something to say, just tell it. Somebody will consider it, will read it, and will review it. So
you really see a open and inclusive process of a new plan for
strong public participation. That's really extremely important factor, which has been conducted in Baku Master Plan recently, last year. And that in that way the new management of Skupa was extremely active, and they involved all the necessary parties, civil society, government bodies, and everything was on the table. And then we had a chance to choose from the huge amount, huge database.
Okay. Are you optimistic about the future of Ganja and the economy here in Western Azerbaijan?
Yes, it takes time, of course, but I'm sure that we will achieve it.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about social issues. You've been very concerned about human rights in Azerbaijan, women's rights, workers' rights. Do you want to talk a little about the role of the NGO sector and in this field of human rights?
Yeah, there are some active NGOs in Ganja, for example. I'm following the projects here, and they are working hard on different social issues, including women rights and women rights. Let's say domestic violence, unfortunately, is extremely spread it in the country, which is not a positive fact. And the NGOs, they work hard, and that's extremely important to help these people to understand. Even domestic behavior in the families. But on the other hand, regarding the workers' rights, of course, the work relations between the employer and employee. That's also another issue, and people, of course, looking for a job, and sometimes they are satisfied with the job, but not with the salary, but not satisfied with the work conditions. So there should be also trust between the employers and employees, and in that way, legislation should be updated, and also NGOs should also work and do their best to increase awareness of people, especially employees, that they need to always seek for the labor contract or service contract, so that tomorrow they could have a document to prove that how their rights are violated and what can be done.
Okay. Seems like you enjoy being here in Ganja. You enjoy the people here. And
yeah, of course, I love these people. I always felt myself Ganja resident, although I live in Baku and work in Baku. Maybe because of roots.
I'm sure you'll be spending a lot of time here.
Inshallah, as we say.
And if you are elected to the National Assembly, you'll be spending even more time here.
I have to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.